You know that feeling when you're answering a rota question, half writing an email to a supplier, keeping an eye on the kitchen ticket times and trying to remember if payroll actually got submitted? Well, that's what we call multitasking, and in hospitality it feels like survival. But here's the truth, multitasking isn't a superpower, it's a drain. It's not making you more productive, it's burning you out, scattering your focus and quietly wrecking your leadership. In this video, I want to break down the myth of multitasking, show you why it doesn't work the way you think it does, and share how choosing focus over frantic juggling has changed the way I lead and live. Welcome to the Lead Well channel, where we help hospitality leaders protect their well-being, lead with clarity, and build businesses that don't break them. In this video, I'm breaking down why multitasking is a trap, why focus is a strength, and how to protect your energy in an industry that constantly pulls you in 10 directions at once. If that sounds like the shift that you've been needing, let's dive in. How I lived in multitasking mode. Hi, I'm Trevor. I've run a successful restaurant and cocktail bar for years, but I didn't come from hospitality. I built it from scratch, figuring it out as I went along. And for a long time, my biggest point of pride was that I could juggle everything at once. I thought being the guy that could answer every question, cover every task, and be in 3 places at once was what made me a good leader. On paper, it looked impressive. Staff knew they could always grab me. I was everywhere. I was busy every second, but inside I was fraying. I'd start a rota update, get interrupted by a supplier call, half deal with that, then remember payroll was due, then jump back into a rota only to realize I'd left the shift uncovered. And by the end of the day, I'd felt like I'd been running non-stop and I had nothing finished to show for it. And it wasn't just the admin, it showed up in how I treated people too. I was distracted in conversations, snapping at staff when they caught me mid-task, or zoning out when my wife was telling me about her day. I told myself I was being productive, but really I was just living in constant distraction, and eventually it caught up with me. The exhaustion, the anxiety, the panic attacks, and the worst part, my confidence took a hit. I didn't feel like a leader. I felt like someone barely keeping the wheels on. And that's when I realized multitasking wasn't strength. It was weakness disguised as busyness. And learning to focus again became one of the most important shifts I ever made. Before we go deeper, I want to give you a quick tool that can help you see exactly where multitasking might be creeping into your leadership. It's my free business wellness quiz. 20 quick questions that show you where you're strong, where your leaks are, and what might be leading you towards burnout, even without you realizing it. It only takes 2 minutes and it'll give you practical insights that you can use straight away. The link's in the description. Because you carry a lot and you deserve the tools and the support to carry it well. Why multitasking doesn't work. Here's the first big truth. Our brains cannot multitask. And it feels like we can, especially in hospitality where we're spinning plates all day. Excuse the pun. But neuroscience is clear. What we call multitasking is actually task switching. Every time you jump from one thing to another, your brain has to reorient. It's like your computer closing one tab and opening another. And each switch has a cost in focus, in energy, in accuracy. So when you're answering a staff query mid-email or trying to approve a rota while fielding a customer complaint, your brain isn't doing both. It's bouncing back and forth. And the more it bounces, the more energy it burns. The result? You feel busy, but nothing's actually finished. Mistakes slip through more easily, you end the day more drained than the work alone should justify, and that drain builds up day after day, week after week, until you start hitting the walls of burnout. Snappiness, decision fatigue, brain fog, even those 2 a.m. nights lying awake with your thoughts racing. The signs you're stuck in multitasking mode. Here's how to know if you're stuck in multitasking mode. You're always busy, but you're rarely finished. Your to-do lists roll around every day, half done. You feel foggy. By mid-shift, your brain feels like it's wading through mud. You're short with people. Because you're always half in another task, interruptions feel unbearable. You lose track of priorities. Everything feels urgent because you never step back to decide what's actually important. For me, it was the endless cycle of starting 3 things and finishing none. I'd go home with a brain full of half tasks. The rota not finalized, emails half written, conversations half had. It left me feeling guilty, like I was failing, even though I'd spent the whole day working flat out. The cost of multitasking on leadership. And here's the kicker. Multitasking doesn't just cost you personally, it costs your business. When you're always half focused, decisions get worse. You're reacting, not thinking. Your communication breaks down. Your team feels you're not really listening. Your creativity disappears. Big ideas need uninterrupted space, which multitasking never gives you. Your trust erodes. If your team sees you scattered or forgetful, they lose confidence in your leadership. I remember one of my managers once said, "You're always here, but you're never with us." And that hit me hard because he was right. I was physically present, but mentally in 3 other places. That wasn't leadership. That was survival mode on display. The shift towards focus. First time I broke the cycle was surprisingly simple. I just told myself, just do one thing at a time. It sounds laughably basic, but when you're used to juggling, choosing focus seems radical. The change wasn't instant, but it was noticeable. My energy lasted longer, conversations went deeper, tasks actually got finished. And most importantly, I started to feel like I had some control again. Like I wasn't just a pinball bouncing around my own business, setting up for focus. This is where tools matter. And in my case, 2 documents that I've built became great game changers. The Time Audit Tool to spot when you're wasting hours in hidden multitasking, and the weekly wellness operations planner to block my focus windows around energy, not just tasks. I'll talk about more of those in a minute, but the main point is focus isn't about perfection, it's about rhythm. One thing at a time, done with intention. Why awareness comes first. When you've been multitasking for years, the hardest part isn't stopping, it's noticing, because it feels normal. It feels like this is just what hospitality is. But here's the truth, the chaos isn't always the industry. A lot of the chaos comes from how we're handling it. And once you can see your patterns clearly, you can start changing them. That's where the Time Audit Tool comes in, the Time Audit Tool. I resisted doing a time audit for ages. I thought, I know where my time goes, I don't need to write it down. But when I finally tracked it for the week, it was shocking. I thought I was spending my mornings on deep work, strategy, planning, future projects, but what actually showed up on paper? 20 minutes answering WhatsApp, 15 minutes tweaking the rotor again, 25 minutes on supplier emails, 10 minutes fixing a printer issue. By 11 a.m, I hadn't touched the actual priorities that I'd set out. And the part that really blew me away, I was losing hours each week to redoing tasks that I thought I delegated, chasing orders, correcting mistakes, and double checking work that I should have trusted my managers with. The time audit made it impossible to ignore. It forced me to see that multitasking wasn't just tiring me out, it was eating my life in chunks. And here's how it works. For 5 to 7 days, you jot down what you're doing, how long it takes, and this bit matters, how it felt. Did it energize you, drain you, or just feel neutral? Then step back and look at the patterns. You'll spot 3 types of tasks. High value, high energy, the stuff that only you can do as a leader. Necessary but draining, things that need doing but could be delegated or batched. And noise, interruptions, unnecessary check-ins, or micro decisions that don't need your attention at all. Once you see those categories, it's like putting glasses on. The fog clears, you can see where the leaks are. The weekly wellness and operations planner. Once I saw the leaks, I needed a way to structure my week differently, and that's where the weekly wellness and operations planner comes in. This isn't a rigid calendar, it's a rhythm map. It combines 3 things. A well-being check-in, so how am I actually feeling? Am I depleted, anxious, or energized? Operational priorities, what must get done this week for the business? And personal non-negotiables, time for me, my family, and recovery. And here's how I use it. On a Monday, I take 20 minutes with a coffee and I fill it out. I start with me, because if I don't, everything else falls apart. If I'm at 3 out of 10 energy level, I don't plan a week that needs a superhero. I plan a week that lets me survive and reset. And then I map the operational rocks, the payroll, the ordering, the team meetings, and then I block the personal anchors, my morning breath work, the gym, family commitments, stuff like that. Only after that do I layer into the nice to haves, the projects, the extras, the creative work. This way the week isn't just crammed with tasks, it has a rhythm that matches my capacity. And here's the thing, the planner also builds in buffer time, because firefighting will happen in hospitality. But when you've got space carved out, it doesn't throw the whole week off course. Why this matters in hospitality. Hospitality makes you believe that multitasking is the only way to cope. Customers, staff, suppliers, bookings, they all want you now. But when you live in that constant juggling mode, 2 things happen. 1, your nervous system never gets a break. You're always in low-level fight or flight. And 2, you confuse activity with progress. You feel busy, but the busyness doesn't actually move forward. I lived in that mode for years and it nearly broke me. The anxiety, the panic attacks, the exhaustion that no weekend off could fix. Learning to plan my week differently wasn't about control, it was about survival. It gave me space to lead instead of just react. And I've seen the same shift in coaching clients. Once they stop multitasking and start planning with rhythm, everything feels lighter. They make better decisions, they reconnect with their teams, they even start enjoying the job again. How to break the cycle of multitasking. So how do you actually break the cycle? It starts with awareness. Use the time audit for a week, see the patterns, then move into planning. Use the weekly planner to protect your focus and your energy. But there are also micro shifts that you can make straight away. Single tasking rule. 1 tab open, 1 task at a time. The boundaries for interruptions. Set times when staff know that you're available and times when you're not. Batching. Group similar tasks together, so invoices in one block, emails in another block. This is so you're not constantly switching gears between work. The physical reset. When you catch yourself spiraling into 5 half tasks, just stop, Step outside, one deep breath, and then choose one thing and then finish it. It sounds simple, but these micro shifts compound. They rebuild your brain's ability to focus. Personal example, my morning routine. One of the most powerful shifts I made was re-establishing my morning routine. If you've seen my video on it, I'll put it somewhere up here, you'll know it's not complicated. It's a cup of tea, it's some breath work, and it's a walk with the dog. That's it. But here's why it matters. It's one thing at a time. It sets the tone for the day. Before the staff messages, the emails, the chaos, I've already had one focus block, and that focus carries into the rest of the day. Contrast that with the old me, waking up, scrolling WhatsApp, answering questions before I'd even brush my teeth. My brain was already in multitasking mode before 8 a.m. Starting with focus sets the rhythm for everything else. The emotional cost of multitasking. This part doesn't get talked about enough. Multitasking doesn't just drain your time, it drains your identity. When you're constantly half present, you start to feel like you're failing everywhere. Half a leader, half a partner, half a friend. That shame loop is brutal. You feel guilty for not being present, which makes you more anxious, which makes you juggle harder, and the cycle continues. The antidote isn't working harder, it's slowing down enough to finish one thing at a time. That's how you rebuild self-trust. That's how you start to feel like yourself again. Every time you choose focus over multitasking, you're training your nervous system to settle. Instead of living in constant jumpy, high alert state, you're teaching your brain it's safe to slow down, it's safe to finish, it's safe to breathe. And resilience isn't about never facing chaos, it's about being able to come back from it quickly. I tell my clients this all the time. If you can shift from 5 half tasks to 1 complete action, you're already building resilience. You're showing yourself that you can make progress even in the middle of chaos. Over weeks and months, those small choices add up. You're calmer, you're clearer, you're less likely to snap when the next interruption comes, and that calm becomes your new normal. The impact on your team. Here's the other side of the coin. When you stop multitasking, it's not just you who benefits, your team feels it too. When you're fully present in a conversation, they feel heard. When you're clear and decisive, they trust your leadership. When you stop micromanaging because you've delegated with intention, they grow. I used to think that being always available was what made me a strong owner, but what I didn't see was that my scattered energy was teaching my team the wrong lesson, that chaos is normal, that you should always be distracted, that being constantly frazzled is just part of the job. Now when I give them my full focus, even for a few minutes, it changes the dynamic. They leave conversations more confident, more capable, and more willing to step up. Not by me doing more, but by me being more intentional with what I give. Examples from my week. So let me show you what this looks like in practice. Here's how I now structure my week. Monday afternoons are for finance and admin, no interruption, no staff queries, no new projects, just the numbers. Tuesday afternoons are for marketing and events brainstorming. I give myself a 2-hour block to get creative and map things out. Wednesday evenings and Thursday evenings, I'm usually on the floor, and those are my touch points with my team and the guests. Keeps me connected, but not consumed. Friday afternoons, I have a buffer built in because that's when things often get chaotic. Instead of pretending it won't, I plan for it. And every morning starts the same way. Cup of tea, breath work, walk. That rhythm grounds me before the noise starts. Do I always stick to it perfectly? No, but even when the week goes off script, I've got an anchor to come back to. That's the difference between a week that unravels and a week that bends and doesn't break. Breaking the myth of multitasking. So let's get really clear. Multitasking is not strength. It's not leadership. It's not the badge of honor we've been taught to wear in hospitality. Multitasking is a leak. It drains your time, your energy, your creativity, and your relationship. Focus, on the other hand, is leadership, what allows you to think strategically, to communicate with clarity, and to show up fully for the people who rely on you. And it doesn't mean that you'll never be interrupted again. It just means you'll have a way to return to focus instead of being pulled under by every distraction. Your next step. If you're tired of spinning plates that never stop, your next step is simple. Try the Time Audit Tool for a week, see where your multitasking is costing you most, then use the weekly wellness and operations planner to block 1 or 2 focus windows into your week. It's not about overhauling everything overnight, it's about building rhythm 1 block at a time. And if you want the planner, just drop the word plan into the comments and I'll send it to you for free. So here's the truth, you don't need to do everything at once. You don't need to hold the whole business in your head. When you stop multitasking and start focusing, you don't just save time, you save yourself. You reconnect with the part of you that actually enjoys leading, creating, and building. And you show your team a different way of working, one that's calmer, clearer, and far more sustainable. I'm not perfect at this. I still catch myself juggling sometimes, but I've come far enough to know that the focus is the way forward. It's how you stop surviving and start leading. You matter too, don't forget that.